Welcome, America, to Amendment1Radio.com, where your First Amendment rights are still safe to say what's on your mind. Welcome, America, to another Amendment1Radio.com show here. We got a couple special guests in the building here, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about them. Go ahead, guys. You got the floor here.
You go ahead.
My name's Adam Mazio. I work for the Tunari Post in St. Pete, which is a citizen journalism project. I also work for a number of other outlets on the internet, including Media Roots. I do some political citizen journalism projects for them and some writing for them as well.
And my name is Carmen Ziegenbein, and I'm the co-founder of Tunari Media and Tunari Post. And I'm working with the good old Adam.
Cool. Well, good, guys. Tell me, what's on your mind here today? Let's hear what your topics are. What do you want to talk about?
Adam, you first.
Well, I guess a good thing to talk about would be the emergence of citizen journalism today, as traditional media outlets kind of fossilize and die off and crumble. More and more citizen journalism projects are popping up around the country and giving a voice to people through the internet that haven't had a voice previously. So I think it's an exciting time for that, for people to take back the power of the media and put it into their own hands.
That's cool. What do you think about like your media sources like Fox and all them? You think they're contrived, controlled, or government?
They suck.
Yeah.
I had to jump in. I'm so sorry.
Hey, go ahead, man.
Would you like to expound on that some more?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not too sure. Somebody's listening? No. Okay. Never mind. I mean, the media sources here in the U.S. are pretty much, I would say, how can I say it, too corporate. So when you look at Fox, for example, I mean, all what you see is it goes into one direction so that they get more advertisers and more advertising revenues, etc.
Yeah.
So when you look at, you have Fox, you have CNN, and all the other ones. So CNN has to go in a certain direction. MSNBC goes more to the left, while Fox goes more to the right. And this is how they make their money, but it has nothing really to do with news or providing an objective overview over something. Yeah. Like as you've seen maybe with the election. I mean, Fox was upset about, about that the Republicans didn't get elected. But then if you look at all the candidates that they had at the end, I mean, it was pretty obvious who would vote for them. I would. Yeah. Would you, Adam?
No.
Okay.
No.
We're not supposed to talk about politics because otherwise we ruin our business. But yes, that's what I would say. So.
No. Yeah. No, because I mean, heck, I sit back and I watched the campaign from both the clowns there, and and the funny thing about it was, it's just I seen so much media, it was basically like who could sit there and lie the best of each person. And it's just like, it was almost like a liar's poker. Whoever's got the best hand here is the one that's going to win. And it's just like major media is, they're bought and sold. And it's just, with the other candidates that was running, because we had 14 total candidates. The only one that I honestly really liked was Gary Johnson. He's libertarian. And I would have loved to seen him go in there and debate against him too, because I think that America would have had their eyes opened real fast.
Actually, there was another really good candidate too, which was Rocky Anderson.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure and the opportunity of interviewing Rocky Anderson once. He was here in Tampa during the RNC, and I interviewed him down in Ybor. And he much like Gary Johnson, they're willing to discuss issues of real import to Americans that the mainstream candidates, being Democrats and Republicans, won't discuss.
Yeah.
Because they have a stranglehold on the political process, and they have no interest in, causing real change for things that Americans really need. Yeah. So those third-party candidates, they need to become mainstream somehow soon, or we're going to be in deep trouble.
Yeah, because I thought, the one thing that always killed me, all I kept hearing about was Romney shipped everything to China. He's against, he's going to turn back Roe versus Wade. And, and Obama's like, well, hope and change. We got past that. Let's move forward. It's like, what are we going to do? We're going to run into more forward damage that we're going to get into that's going to be worse. And, and then we got this boneheaded idiot over here who wants to sit there and keep telling everybody, well, I'm going to change Roe versus Wade. Who cares? Let's talk about the people that are out of work, the veterans that you basically, you treat horribly. And it's just, the rest of the economy here sucks.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much the MO of the two-party system is to ignore all of the main topics that have real relevance to Americans and just narrow down the political spectrum to very superficial wedge issues that in the end really change nothing for the whole of America in terms of like gay marriage rights, abortion, issues like this. They have nothing to do with the economy, which is one of the most important things right now. They have nothing to do with ending the wars. They have nothing to do with the dollar dying.
Climate change.
Climate change.
Yeah.
Just a little thing is the climate change. We don't have any climate change.
No, that doesn't exist.
But Florida seems to be getting colder and colder every year, so very odd.
Yeah.
But we don't have any of these issues. And then also the campaign financing is a big deal, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one thing that really kind of, got me, because I know at one time that they had it set up to where they couldn't have contributions from outside of the United States. And I didn't really know at the time that during the last 4 years with Obama, well, this 4 years, is that, he actually changed that. I think it was second year in to where you could have outside the country contributions. Because, there was millions and millions of dollars that came in from overseas, but yet they were set up in through different corporate fundings and stuff that came in through the United States. And it's just like, same thing with Romney. But, and it's just, I think it sucks.
I think they need to have like a fixed amount. This is what you get for the presidential election. There shouldn't be any contributions from anybody.
Yep.
And then they have to go, because otherwise it's just, they're spending, how much did you spend? I was just reading it. I'm not even quite sure. Maybe it was $1 billion, one of them.
Yeah.
But that's just crazy.
I think it was combined, the two of them approached $1 billion.
So $1 billion, then you have all the people who are unemployed, who don't get their $250 check, and these two clowns are running. Clowns, I'm taking this back just in case. These two candidates are running and spending $1 billion bucks. And there's so many people who don't have anything.
Yeah, because what I kept thinking was, if they wanted to do something good with it, then, they should have took the combined funding from both the Democratic and the Republican parties, put it into one major fund, and, go in there and set it up to where all the candidates, everything's funneled down in through each and every one of them. They all got an equal share, and then say, okay, look, guys, here's what you're going to do. We're going to put you up here. We're going to have, a big thing that, everybody's going to sit there, speak their piece, say what's on their minds, tell us what's good, and let's keep all the money equal with everybody. And then now let's throw away the Democratic and the Republican Party stigma with it. And each one of them are all now candidates of American Party, and let's see who can outdo the best.
Yeah, outdo and provide also a proper plan. Like, it has to be, this is it's the same as if you work in a company. You have like a plan, and then this is what I do in Q1, in Q2, Q3, Q4, etc.
Yeah.
But just talking about the abortion stuff and all these things just doesn't do anything.
No, because it's just, and and a lot of people don't realize, come January 1st. You got the major leg of Obama tax care that starts out. All the tax cuts and stuff where you could write off a lot of your business assets and everything like that for this year. They're gone January 1st. Whereas you've got I think it's like between 40 and 65% that you can write off on business expenses. Next year it's only supposed to be between 5 and 10%. So and already a lot of major corporations are saying that. They're not going to pay the extra insurance for extra employees past their quota of what they're supposed to have. So January 1st, a lot of people are getting laid off because of this. Not to mention that the taxes, they're already saying, is going to be between $2,000 to $4,000 on regular. And with the insurance and stuff, it can run between $4,000 and $6,000 altogether with middle America at the end of the year in taxes, extra on top of what we got already.
Well, I actually have zero sympathy for corporations. How much how much money are they sitting on right now that they're not investing? It's something like over $1 trillion or something like this. So, any whining that they're doing about, having to lay people off or pay for health insurance, I'm not sympathetic to them whatsoever.
I would say the small business, what we consider real small business, when
like
you have
less than
50,
the mom and pops. Yeah.
These places, they need to have more tax cuts.
Yeah.
But then, if you give GE a tax cut of Verizon, they hardly pay anything. Does that make any sense? They make billions of dollars and they don't pay any taxes.
Well, that's
just not right.
Well, the one biggest thing that really pisses me off more than anything was the bailout. We sit there and we paid these guys to fail.
And then they increase your fees when you use your debit card.
Yeah. And then what's worse,
the key to that is you socialize the losses and you privatize the profits.
Yep.
And this is not true capitalism, because if it was true capitalism, they would have been allowed to fail.
Yep.
Because the dying companies, they often fail, and then somebody comes along and takes their place and does their job better. But they should not have been bailed out. They should have been allowed to fail. That's a true free market, capitalistic economy. So it was a complete sham, all those bailouts for all those companies.
Yeah, especially when the fact you got Obama, who just sit there and told GM that, okay, hey, yeah, you can open your plant in England, you can open your plant in China, and they've also got one that they're trying to get set up for Australia. And each one of those are sit there and, and it still has effect on the American tax payers here. And it's just like, when it's all said and done, we're looking at almost, I think it's like $400 million for England, or where they're doing their over there. Then China's supposed to be like another 500 million there. If they get Australia, it's supposed to be, I think, like another 300 to 400 million there. And it's just like, where are they getting this money to go over there and do that when, they should be doing it here? You've got Ford Motors, they didn't take a bailout, but hell, they're setting up in South America for a big factory there. You've got Dodge, they're setting up overseas as well. And it's just like, hey, I look at it this way. If I had my way about it, it's sad to say, because I got relatives that worked with GM, and I'd be willing to say, hey, boycott all the American factories, things, go buy a Honda. Because guess what? They're made in Marysville, Ohio.
Yeah. Yeah, as part of the whole, capitalism like scheme nowadays, is it's a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
You move offshore all the jobs and all the manufacturing sites to the third world countries that have the cheapest labor possible to exploit, and, maximize profit at the expense of, hardworking Americans.
Yeah.
And because of that, we've lost so many manufacturing jobs. And we're turning into a service economy. All our jobs are service related. We're not making things. We're not producing things anymore. Our unions are being destroyed. So, the middle class doesn't have a way to provide a solid life and a solid future for their families and for their children. And everybody's working $8, $10 an hour jobs at Walmart and McDonald's.
And that doesn't work because you pay for a bread $3.50. I mean, if you go to Publix, everything is $3 and up.
Yeah.
So if you get $7, whatever, $7.60 or $7.80 an hour, I mean, you're not going to have anything. You can't buy anything.
No. What really pisses me off is when I sit there and seen how much money that United Auto Workers put into the campaign funds. Between the two of them, they put in like $800 million between, Democrats and Republicans. And it's just like, okay, union workers, you're sitting there saying that, these your employees, or your so-called employees there, that they need to be taken care of, the factory workers and stuff, but yet you don't raise their wages. They got to sit there and they have to go through the union to pay you guys to sit there and talk for them. But yet you guys got $800 million to go throw into campaigning. No, I'm sorry. Hey, your best example, and it's sad to say it happens, because hey, I love cupcakes more than anybody else does. As hostess, I like the fact that the employees there have sit there and finally said, something, the union didn't do a damn thing for us. They screwed us out of our money, because if they would have went in there and took, I think it was like an 8% cut in pay, all them people would have had their jobs. But they didn't. The unions didn't want them to.
Yeah, and that's something moving forward in a country that has to be explored more. I think Cleveland, there's a lot of companies in Cleveland starting to look at co-ops, worker-owned companies, and then that way there's a vested interest by the workers in the company, instead of having shares and having this corporate setup with a board of directors.
Sounds a little bit more like Soviet Union, but I'm not going to say anything. I'm taking everything back right now. Sounds a little bit odd, co-ops.
Well, that's the other thing too. I always say about America is that we've always been a country known for innovation, imagination, progress, ingenuity. So I think we can come up with some creative solutions to the problems that we have now. We might have to like piecemeal and take a little bit from here and a little bit from there and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But I think we're inventive enough people to be able to come up with creative solutions to our problems right now, instead of using the same old tired and unoriginal things that people have used in the past, because that's not going to work for us now.
Americans always have been pioneering things. So that's a great spirit. If you go to Europe, things are a lot, a lot more planned.
Yep.
And they take a lot longer. And usually they work out, but America's like quick idea, go in, go out, it works.
Yep.
And you can get a lot more done here than if you would do something or start something in Europe.
Yeah, and it's ironic too, because I just saw something on the internet about the 2 most looked up words of this past year according to Merriam-Webster's, and I think one of them was socialism. Which is ironic, because of course everybody is labeling Obama as a socialist. Yet, like I mentioned it earlier,
he continues most of the policies from Bush, so he can't be that much of a socialist.
Yeah, it's total BS. I mean, it's like most Americans, they have no clue what the political spectrum actually is, or what these different political paradigms mean or systems mean. They can't define them. But yet, like you have, like I said earlier, these corporations with the bailouts, so they privatize the profits and socialize the losses. I mean, it's socialism for the rich, but oh my God, Obama's a socialist. But my point is this, is that Americans are kind of like, maybe at least the younger Americans, waking up to different political systems. Not necessarily that they've chosen the best one, because socialism hasn't done the best for Europe, but at least maybe there's people out there contemplating different systems as opposed to just only capitalism, because people are realizing capitalism is failing us.
The information too. So now the younger generation, or the older generation, may not be going on the internet all the time. So the younger generation takes a deeper look, like with the candidates. I mean, you could have said, I would have said, if you have a good candidate on the GOP side, they would have won. I mean, not even a great one, just a good one, half decent, let's say it like this.
Somebody who's not a crackpot.
Yes. That's why they lost, because when you talk to people before the election, everybody said, oh my gosh, Obama is a nice guy, he's smart, he's a very nice guy. But, he didn't get it really done. So most people wouldn't have elected him. But there's no choice. You have this one, and then you have these, I don't know what to say about that.
And really, when you look at it, Obama's kind of like a centrist Republican. I mean, the main issues between him and Romney, they agreed on them all. They didn't even discuss any of the...
he's a supporter of the banks. I mean, that's...
exactly.
That's
like
the strangest thing.
Yeah.
Because there was nobody really prosecuted.
No.
All the state attorneys from New York and other places want to go after the banks, and the federal ones are saying always, oh no,
I mean, the politicians, they're coddled by Wall Street, and they just bow down to Wall Street. Wall Street has all the money and all the control in this country, and you see what's really happening in our political system when the politicians don't go after Wall Street. And then another big part of that... Depends
where they get the money from.
Oh,
so
exactly.
You had Bush Oil, you have Obama Banks, and now let's see what the next one is doing.
Yeah, you look at the lists of the campaign contributors to Obama and Romney, and like in the top 10 or the top 20, it's all Wall Street. They gave equal amounts to Obama and Romney, so they're just buying both sides, so that their interests are served, no matter who wins the election. So that tells you what's really going on politically in the country. And then the other thing that's never discussed is the Federal Reserve. I mean, that's a gigantic scam, and the Federal Reserve.
That's the best scam going, isn't it?
Yeah, and Bernanke, Bernanke, that guy, good Lord.
Oh, that guy's trouble. Oh my God, is he terrible?
Yeah, what's his nickname? I think it's Helicopter Ben, because of the QE just dropping like tons and tons of money from helicopters onto the economy, which is just going to destroy the dollar. It's already doing that and causing inflation, but the BLS and all the government drones, they just keep covering it up and massaging the numbers and tweaking the numbers, and it's ridiculous.
Did anybody read about Apple? They announced today that they are doing like an assembly factory in the United States. It was a big deal. Apple, who has how many billions again? Was it 40 or something?
I think they're sitting on more cash reserves than the American government at the moment.
So they're gonna hire $1,000 people for like $8 an hour to assemble the iPhone that you are buying for $500, I guess, in the United States. Terrible. Okay.
And that's exactly what we need more of, more gadgets that people don't have the money to pay for, but they put on a credit card.
Yep. Oh, my.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on the
no, we
iPhone.
We won't. You can stop now. You can stop now. It's good enough now. We don't want to get you started.
Yeah, because that stuff, that's terrible. God. And the worst thing about it is there's no end. There's no end in sight.
There is no, because you don't have there's not going to be another party really in the near future. So all what you can look for is, and even if there would be a great candidate, he would be associated to one of the two parties. So he still couldn't do what he wants to do. No. So it's gonna be a challenge down the road too. So I even don't know what you would need another party, But then might be the same thing is happening with that. So the only thing I see is cut down on the contributions that can be given out, and maybe cut everything that comes from companies at all. They shouldn't even give them anything.
Nope.
And then also take out lobbyists, which is a really bad part too, because you have lobbyists for different companies, which I worked for some, and they had lobbyists, and they just go to Washington. I can't go to Washington. Nobody's going to talk to me. So there's nobody listening to me, but they go there, they pay, and, it's just not very good.
No. And, and the sad thing about it is, even on my show, I sit there and tell people, hey, anybody can run for office. It doesn't matter what, race you are, what political party you're affiliated with or anything like that. All you got to do is look up what the requirements are. Most of them, you got to be an American, and, you pay a certain fee to get in there. They do a background check on you. They do your tax record checks, and then pretty much you can run and do what you want to do. We still have that freedom to do that. But the problem is nobody wants to go in there and do it, and we're still letting government pick our candidates for us. And it's just like, and if somebody else comes in from the outside, they totally just look the other way, and it's just like, well, you're not good enough to go to our conventions to speak on a debate with us. So sorry about your luck, and we'll catch you next time around. So, and it's just, and I mean, it's horrible. And that's even like, a lot of people ain't paying attention for, where you're looking at for 2016, what kind of candidates are we having there? And it's just like, that election is the one that scares me the most, because it's already been rumored Michelle Obama's going to run for president.
Michelle Obama, that must be a real big rumor.
Well, no, I'll tell you, the sad part about it is,
what would she do? Both of them didn't work before, really. You know that, right? They didn't have any real jobs, so this is not going to work.
Oh, I'm telling you. But see, now here's the thing. This is where she can go in there and claim, well, I've got presidential experience because I've sponged off all the Americans. I've taken every bit of money for flip-flopping around and taxiing around in Air Force One.
Reminds me on her shoes again. Was her shoes $500 or something?
Yeah, and it's just like, especially, and it's like when she went to Spain and spent 2 hours out on the beach. Well, they rented the beach for $50,000, and everybody's like, "Well,
watch what you say about Spain. I used to live there.
Why did she rent the beach?
They have really nice beaches.
Oh yeah, they got beautiful beaches.
They rented the beach. Why did they rent the beach?
Yeah, well, they went there and they rented the beach, because they didn't want nobody on the beach, so they went there and they paid the Spanish government $50,000. They went out there, and and everybody's like, "Wow, $50,000. That's a waste of money." But the problem is most people don't. It's kind of like a sleight of hand deal. Well, you look at 50,000 over here, but yet Air Force One over here is $1 million to fire the engines.
Yep, that flies her over to Spain.
Yep, and there's 2 planes because you got to carry your limousines and everything else in the second plane.
You have 2 planes?
Yeah.
Oh my!
Yeah, there's 3
2 planes.
Yeah, there's 3. There's like 3 Air Force Ones.
But they're not flying all at the same time.
No.
So just one, and then just one carries the stuff.
Yeah, you've got one, like a C-130 and stuff that goes in there and carries the bulletproof limousines and all that kind of stuff that falls in. But now
you can't lease that one.
Now you've also got another $1 million that you're paying for Secret Service, FBI, and and it's just like, but we're going to tell you about $50,000 over here, so it's not so bad. But we're not going to tell you about the $5 million it costs to get them there and back.
Well, we could make maybe a little trade, a little deal. It's a pipe dream and it would never happen. But more and more articles have been coming out on the internet since the economy crashed about shortening the work week in America to employ more people, but yet by shortening the work week, not actually lowering our salaries. But actually, giving hours to the unemployed. Now, no corporation is ever going to do that, but that would be a beautiful thing. If we could work 4 days a week instead of 5, we would maybe not feel so bad about letting them rent the beach for $50,000.
It works in Germany. We work. I mean, in Germany, we start. Let's say we start at 8. We work between, it depends really, 37 and sometimes you have 34 hours. At Volkswagen in Germany, in some cases, the shifts are running only 28 hours a week. And but it's all about efficiencies again. So that's not really the strength of the American system. So you have to be very efficient. But companies could easily do this and then hire more people in this case.
Yeah, theoretically it would work. And Germany did do that.
But it comes down to the training too. Now, when they go to school, like one person that I'm not naming on the radio, she's going to a very large university here in Tampa or in St. Petersburg, and the thing that she's learning, so that she's going to be a technical writer. Now in school, she doesn't learn anything about technical writing. Now, when she's coming out of school, what kind of job is she going to get? She can't become a technical writer because she doesn't know anything about it, which is going to be a big challenge. So and that's a big difference especially in Germany, because before you touch a car, it takes you 3 years. Then they let you touch a car, but they still watch you with one eye. Then it takes another 3 years, and then you can use the tools.
Yeah.
And I think per capita, Germany is the most productive country in the world. I mean, just by pure like GDP output, China and America, but by per capita, I
But
think
at
Germany.
5 p.m., they let the hammer fall, and that is it.
Yep.
Well,
There's no movement, just beer and eating.
Yep.
And TV.
That's the other thing too. Is
Yep.
you know from being German, and then I know from living in Spain for 4 years. The biggest difference between the United States and Europe is that in Europe people work to live, and here in the United States we live to work.
Yep.
We work, and the more we work, we don't necessarily become more productive. We don't necessarily make our companies better, and we certainly don't make our lives any better when we're driving ourselves into the ground, working to make somebody else rich.
But it depends also on the companies. So when companies, what you have to do, if you're in a company, you want to generate more revenue. You generate more revenue if your employees are happy, they produce more, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you just drag them down all day long and then you replace them with another one, especially also when you talk about older people, very experienced, but they just have the age of 55, and you just kick them out and get a new one again, just because it's $20,000 cheaper. But that person, that's 55 years old might make you like $250,000 a year, while the other one doesn't in a year. So,
Yeah, they go for the long term of it. They figure, hey, if I spend 20 grand here instead of 55, hey, in 5 years, I'm going to quadruple what I'm making and missing here. So, I win. But in reality, they lose.
Yeah.
And I mean, they lose big.
So it's just,
That was something that bothered me about this last presidential campaign was, like all these things about, especially it came from the right and the Republican Party about like all the people that vote for Obama, they don't want to work, they're lazy. It's total bullshit. Americans want to work.
Yep.
We're a hardworking people. And yeah, certainly in the last few decades, I think we've become more dependent on government in terms of handouts. There's no doubt about that. But I still think that the prevailing attitude is that Americans want to work. We don't want handouts.
They don't get any handouts. They work. Most of them work 3 jobs. There's no handouts in America.
And that's a great point, Carmen.
I don't even know any handouts yet. I mean, the only thing, if you look at Europe, you can say, oh, Germany, my gosh, they have all these handouts. There are no handouts here. Nope. What the heck are they handing out? I don't see anything.
And that's a great point you make about working multiple jobs, like 2-3 jobs at a time. And I've had conversations about people with this in the recent past. And I've told people, this is criminal. This is not the way America should work. You should just have one job to support yourself or your family, and that should be it. You should put in your 40 hours a week, and that's all you should need to do.
But it doesn't work with $7.67.
No, exactly. And then you have this kind of like perverted mentality of worshiping work in this country, where these people are so proud that they work 2 and 3 jobs and the graveyard shift and the swing shift to support their families.
And they die with 40.
Right. I mean, it's admirable, and be proud, but that's not the way this country should work. I don't think that country worked this way 40, 50, 60 years ago. And now it's like what I said earlier, we're becoming a service industry country where we work all these crappy jobs at Walmart, McDonald's, and people have to work 2 and 3 jobs, and then you have no life. We become slaves, and it's not good. It's not good.
Yep, definitely a slave to the system. There's no doubt about that. That's one thing I can actually say, that even in Germany, when I was there and stuff, that, hey, I got to give them credit. I mean, because on Sunday afternoon.
You better do. It's my country. Good grief.
Hey, well, I was born there.
Okay, right.
Yeah, Frankfurt, Germany.
Okay, Frankfurt, Germany.
Yep. And, and it was really nice because, my grandparents were fantastic people, loved them to death. And, it's just like every day at 5:30, 6 o'clock, my grandfather would come home and he'd sit there and say, okay, hey, let's go. We're going to go get something to eat. We'd go down to the local Hofbrau house down there. And the food was fantastic. We'd sit there and eat. And, and the neatest thing was, even on Saturday, you really didn't see a whole lot of people working, a lot of trucks, stuff like that. But usually between like 12 and 3 o'clock, that was it.
Yeah, most of it was closed always on Saturdays.
And then Sundays, forget it.
There's nothing.
There's nothing. There ain't no doubt about that. But now, the sad part about it was I could walk anywheres, as far as, going to the Hofbrau houses, going to, the markets and stuff like that. And it was beautiful. You could walk over anywhere near where there was an army base, an American army base, and it was trashed. And it's just like, we sit here and, we trash everything around us, but it's just like, come on, you got to have that pride where you're at to sit there and take care of things. I mean, some people still have it here in America, and there's a lot of people that don't. And I mean, it kills me. You're driving down the street and you see some jackass throw an ashtray out the window.
No
of
cursing,
cigarettes.
no bad words, no bad words in the show, please. No, no.
That's a good point, because I just saw something. I can't remember the exact statistic or something, but like there's a high percentage of trash and litter on the sides of roads. That's the majority of it comes from fast food restaurants.
Yeah.
Like if you just look driving down the road, the trash on the side of the road is mostly from like McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, and that's very insightful right there.
Yeah. Oh, it's horrible. That's why I sit there and said, hey, if by some miracle I was ever getting in politics where I could be governor, I'd sit there and say, hey, you know something? All you guys over here in prison, sorry about your luck.
I totally agree. Hopefully nobody's listening to that
Pre-
one.
you know-
But I agree. Yeah,
hey.
I would send them all out, and they all have to clean the streets.
Yep. Chain gang them. Send
Yep.
them on down there.
And it saves a lot of money. If you
Yep.
think about it, all the things that need to be done. So that would save a lot of money.
Oh yeah, because I mean, and it's ridiculous. Even the people in these county jails, county lockup. Hey, put them out there in pink overalls, polka dots. Don't give them no drawers. Don't give them no socks. And say, hey, look.
I got to say something more radical again.
Yeah.
But what they do is they got to go there, they're going to exercise all day long, get fed 3 times a day, maybe 4 times. And then after 4 years, they got to go home again, nice in shape. While I'm getting fed, I'm fed outside here. No,
Yeah.
just kidding.
And I mean, it's sad because, I mean, I'm in a situation where I know somebody that is in prison and stuff. And, and it's just, it was a bad situation for him and everything. But even as his own mother would sit there and say, he put himself there. Nobody else did it. He did it to himself. So, and it's just like, you're getting fed meals, it may not be the greatest food in the world, but hey, hey, this sucks to be, in
I
that
never ate
situation.
there. I don't know.
Neither have I.
Okay.
Thank God.
I don't like bologna.
And it's just, it's a sad thing because, it should be set up to where, if you're going to do something with these guys and you're going to try and, get them into a better lifestyle so when they come out or something like that, okay, well, good. Teach them to work and teach them to learn. Don't be sitting out there setting them up on recreational things to where it's like, oh, hey, let's go have a big party. Let's go do this. We're palling around and stuff like that. And I mean, I can see both sides of the coin, but on the other end of it, when you get back out of prison, then you should be able to walk right into society, go right in there, find you a job because you did your time, you did your crime, you're done, you're over with. Now get on with your life and make some good things happen with it. But society doesn't do that. I mean, everybody's labeled, everybody has a different circumstance. So it's kind of hard to put it on a bad end on both ends of the spectrum because, it's one of those things that, I tell people that, hey, you have to be able to walk a mile in everybody's shoes, including the guys that's been arrested, because a lot of people were innocent and, they got in bad situations. A lot of people did, stupid things, minute things, but they got on a bad day where the judge, didn't get none the night before, what should have got them 6 months, got them 6 years. It's just, it's stupid. I mean, our judicial system is much like our politics system. It ain't a matter of what you know to get yourself out of it. It's a matter of who you know that's putting the sentence down on you.
Oh, for sure. And now there's definitely a 2-tiered judicial and legal system. I mean, you have, the people that can afford to buy their way out of trouble, the 1%ers, and then the rest of us.
Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, to me, I like the fact of what his show is because it's always entertaining to me.
Oh my.
Well, no.
Oh my.
Well, hey,
my.
There's a catch to it. And the reason why I say that is because everybody sits there and says, well, Rush knows all this and everything like that. It's like, okay, people, he signed an 8-year contract with, I believe it was Clear Channel or Cox, for $400 million. That's just for Clear Channel or the station that he's doing it with.
400 million?
Yeah, 400 million.
Well, so many people listening to him?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, he's got millions of listeners.
There's a lot of dunderheads out there.
Yeah, there are. And, and the funny thing about it is, when I sit there and listen to it, I'm like, I'm just your average everyday, idiot that, does pools for a living.
Don't say this about yourself.
So,
you're a good person.
But now here's the funny part about it. The man represents the Republican Party. Here's a man that also he's nothing good about the Democrats, very seldom. But now here's a guy that was busted with OxyContin, more OxyContin than the damn most pharmacies carry. And, and this man did not spend 1 hour in jail. But yet he can sit there and say, well, hey, I got a good show and everything like that. Well, guess what? Your Republican buddies came to your rescue, and next thing you know is like, poor Rush, man, you had that accident, you got hurt, you needed that OxyContin. brother, we feel for you. These judges that are Republicans, they ain't going to do a thing to you. You just go get some help and you're good to go. Bullshit. If I went out there and had 5 Oxycontin on me in an unscripted bottle, brother, I'm going to jail for 3 years.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's just
Yeah.
like, you
But
know.
then it comes also, you know, when you do a radio show, let's say you're presenting the Republican Party and you're presenting a certain opinion. Let's say, you know, you shouldn't use drugs. You should
Yeah.
be, you know, Republicans
Yeah.
considered very conservative, which they are not because they're always stepping to the wrong side.
Yeah.
But having said that now, I mean, how much can you believe when the man is saying something then? Oh, why? We shouldn't do any abortion. Oh, no, no drug dealers. No, not this and this and that. And then, ding.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So-
I mean, you know, it totally blows my mind with the whole situation because most people don't realize he is for the Republican Party. And it's like I try and tell people, as long as we have a Republican Party and a Democrat Party, the United States will always be divided. And until the people get
You
united,
could make a kingdom out of it.
yeah, oh, that's what it is, really. You know, it's just, they should. You know, and it's just, oh, that's, you know, and it's even sad to say because, I mean, even with, you know, my heritage and my grandfather and everybody like that, you know, I can even sit there and, I mean, you know, Obama's been compared to Hitler. And, you know, and it's just,
Yeah, that's a joke. That's
You know,
so ridiculous.
you know, and I mean, you know, it's pretty funny. But, you know, it's like I tell people, I said, you know something? I said, you know, my my godfather, he was a Stuka pilot, you know, and, you know, he used to tell me some of the certain things that they did. You know, when they went on their raids, they were told, hey, when you leave your raid there, that the cockroaches are not to be alive. And, you know, and that's exactly what they did. But here's a man before he went into a bad situation that actually he did a lot of good for the United States. He did a lot of good for Germany. Hell, he even did good for Russia. But, you know, there was something that happened there that got into a twisted situation. And, you know, it just, I mean, but, you know, it's amazing to me the power that he generated that, you know, just one man that had such a control over so many people. And it's just that, you know, it's not to say that, you know, they didn't think or anything like that. But I mean, he was that convincing. And, you know, and it's just like, and that's the aspect that I look at with Obama. You know, here's a man that he's an articulate speaker. He's very well educated in that aspect. And it's just like, he has that likability of him to where a lot of people listen, but they don't sit there and look at him. Okay, well, what are you doing for us in the country? Instead, it's like this man could sit there and say, you know, with a smile and everything, well, I'm going down to Burger King and pick me up a Whopper with cheese and, you know, have a Coke and a smile. But I want you guys to vote for me for another one because I can eat the same meal that you do. And, you know, and people would do it. And, you know, it blows my mind that he has this kind of capability of being able to have that many kind of people that'll sit there and say, okay, well, you know something, I'm going to do this for you. Well, you didn't do shit for the past 4 years. You put us $16 trillion in debt. And, you know, and it's just like, and now you're putting us deeper in debt. You're devaluing the dollar. You got us from a AAA credit rating down to a AA credit rating. And, you know, and now you want to sit there and tell us some kind of horse crap that, you know, you're going to bring us forward to what?
Well, I think one of the things that makes him so palatable to Americans is that, you know, basically since 1980 or so, you know, like the Reagan administration, you know, we've been living in kind of a bubble that has nothing to do with reality. You know, a bubble financially and a bubble in a lot of ways. We haven't been realistic with ourselves. We haven't been, you know, honest and critical with ourselves, the way we're living, not only financially, but, you know, the explosion in obesity in this country. And we don't want to
nothing against me, right?
You're not American, though.
Oh yeah,
you got an excuse. That's from beer. But yeah, we're not. We don't want to make the hard choices, you know, like we used to in this country. And we've been living a certain way, which we've been coddling ourselves and you know, being like just, you know, kind of fat, lazy, consuming, gluttonous, just.
Yep.
You know, like pigs, basically.
Yeah.
And you know, any politician that's going to, you know, extend and pretend, you know, that's used in terms of like, you know, financial policy from the Federal Reserve, but it works in other contexts as well. That whole extend and pretend, you know, extend the bubble and keep pretending because we don't want to make the hard choices. And those hard choices are coming real fast, right around the corner. Yeah. And there's going to be major change coming for this country. in the near future, because we're
And
going to have to make.
look at the unemployed. So the unemployed now,
yeah.
I think it's right now in December where they're falling off where they get the unemployment benefits. So what are you going to do with all these millions of people? I mean, and then if you have 5 million here, 5 million there, 10 million there, you think they are sitting there and just not eating? So, or they just become homeless. So there's going to be probably some difficult situations.
And you know how much we like to take care of the homeless in Florida.
Yes. Okay, that's another challenge.
And the whole food stamp thing, yeah, that's an issue too.
No, that's one thing they should continue. They should provide more unemployed benefits until, we're at a certain percentage, not just drop them down, because they're going to fall down. They're not going to have a place to stay.
But there's jobs out there, Carmen.
Sure,
Get a job. There are jobs out there.
Sure. Yes, there are lots of jobs out there. That's why we have such a high unemployment rate, which is not even the real one, because we're counting only the ones that we pay. So.
Okay, cool. Who we got calling?
Hey, hello, you there?
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, what the gentleman was saying about living in a bubble, I agree with what he's saying. And furthermore, touching base on, he was saying, obesity and, and I'm not bashing on people like that, but, if you get educated on your health and your fitness, education in general is another topic that you should talk about, living in a bubble. I think that we're actually hurting ourselves because we're staying mainstream to this Institute of Education when there's different types of people and different types of learning. I think if we expanded on those different education beliefs, I think we could do more. So I mean, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah. So education is an important part. So if you don't educate them, then we can't invent new things, etc., etc. And education is with the universities that are for-profit, for example, they're providing education. They do lots of advertising campaigns online and all over the place. And the people that are paying like $30,000, $40,000 at the end of the year for it, they don't get too much out of it. And that's even with some of the other universities, like I shouldn't say the name now, but there are some other universities that seem to be having some challenges in regards to that too.
No.
And yeah, that's a definite big key. I mean, if you look at some of our education stats over the past like 2, 3, 4 decades or so, we've dropped way down compared to the rest of the world. There's countries in Europe and Asia that are passing us by like we're standing still. And a lot of that money that could have been spent on education has been spent on unnecessary wars in the Middle East. God knows how many pork barrel government contracts. I mean, we've just been wasting money on all the wrong things. So we aren't educating people, and our public schooling system is just going down the toilet. And then at the same time, the middle class is struggling. We're not making any money, and college tuition costs are skyrocketing, which is a whole nother issue.
Well, I heard a really funny thing on Facebook, of course, the other day. Someone said, if you knew the government was handing you money, wouldn't you raise your prices too?
That's a good one.
Yeah, that is pretty good. Yeah, because I mean, of course, and again, it's also sad too because a lot of things with the government and with the education cuts, because it's really sad because every time they start doing cuts, it's usually education gets cut first, then they go in there to like your law enforcement, first responders and stuff, and it's just, to me, it's almost like our government is setting a precedence to where we're going to dummy down America to where we're the prominent people, we carry the extra money. So we're going to make sure that our families and everything have the better educations because we can afford it through the tax dollars that, we're raping.
Yeah, but we won't be able to compete anymore after a while. That's the problem.
And what happens is it's turning the country into like a neo-feudal society where you have like the rich monarchs and then just the peasants and the serfs.
Yep.
And they're cutting all the services that just normal Americans need, whether it's public transportation, public education, law enforcement, firemen, all the things that we need. But the rich, they don't need that because they can just pay for it and buy it. Yep. So that's why they love cutting
a lot of people say that our government is turning into this, that there's going to be elitists and the poor. It's not our government. I mean, yeah, we can blame some things on our government, so on and so forth, but it's more us as individuals. Like, we need to better ourselves. If we, it's not, just all the government. It's everybody saying, oh, I'm so poor, so we'll do something about it. Lose, like you were saying, lose that weight. Educate yourself on how to better yourself. So that's kind of my stance on that.
Yeah, exactly. And there was something I actually agreed with the Republicans on over this last presidential campaign.
You did?
Yeah, there's some things I actually agree with them on.
Really?
Yeah, believe it or not, was personal responsibility.
Yep.
You know, people do need to have personal responsibility over their lives and not expect like Big Daddy government to come to the rescue every time when their life goes wrong or takes a bad turn. And that's something that going forward into the future, responding to the problems and crises that we're going to face is going to be very important, is reestablishing a sense of community and being able to rely on your friends and neighbors in your community to help you, to get a job, like to get you healthy, whatever. Because we've like just idolized individualism so much in this country. We don't have social support networks and a sense of community anymore, and we have to get back to that.
But it's also a time issue because, you know, people are working a lot of hours. So there's no time anymore. If you want to spend some time with your family, you can't really hang out with your friends.
Again, a 4-day work week. You know? Okay, yes. It's all tied together. I mean, it is.
But if you make only $7 an hour, 4-day work week is not really going to cut it for you.
No, exactly. But I mean...
Yeah, it's
all right, guys. Thank you guys very much. I'll catch up with you guys later.
Okay, take care.
Thanks for calling.
Take care, man.
Bye.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
There was one good thing I wanted to say is with Obama's the public health care.
Yeah.
So the Obamacare, I was looking today through it again for us, and if it goes through, as he writes down, that would be a great step forward. It was, you know, like you have in Germany, Finland, and Denmark. So that a lot of people get also and can afford the health insurance. However, what I saw in there, the prices are not that low as you might have imagined.
No,
because you still pay when you're let's say you're 60. I think it was when you're 63 plus. You still would have to pay if you have, you know, heart disease or something. You end up at $900 a month. So which is not that cheap.
I don't know the exact details of it. I'm not going to claim that I know any of the
don't
details of Obamacare. But careful what you talk about with Europe, because you know as soon as you talk about any kind of universal health care that comes from Europe, people are going to call that socialist. And then what does socialist mean?
People are idiots if they call it socialist.
Socialist is like a half step away from communist in the United States. That's the way we view things.
That's the only good handout that I think that needs to be done, that everybody has health and the government.
But the stats do show that most Americans want universal health care. And Obamacare, it may not be in its perfect, most
because
ideal
it's not really
form,
fleshed out that much. It's really still too, I would say not too loose, but it's not very strong.
It's like a hunk of unmolded clay.
We'll try it a little bit. Well, we're not going to go really full
as the years go on. Hopefully, we'll be able to mold that clay and make it work for everyone. But
the only thing I see is the pricing. I'm not quite sure if this is what people expect, because when I think about it, you know, somebody who is, you know, 55 or something, or who gets health insurance, has heart disease or something. When he has no money, he might want to pay, you know, $150 or something.
Because that's a huge thing that we have to solve eventually, is what's the percentage that we spend on GDP on healthcare in this country? It's something ridiculous, like 16%. It's the highest in the world. Like the next closest country spends like 9%.
That's because everybody's taking 5 different pills a day. If you go to a European country, they don't use any pills outside of aspirin.
That's true, but it's also like big pharma and the insurance companies and the hospitals. There's this like, you know, medical corporate, you know, industry and complex in this country that's making money off of
because
being
you're feeding
sick.
Everybody with all the pills. Then you have all these stupid commercials on TV already.
They want you
this is now whatever 1%. Now there's something new. It's 1.69. 1.75, whatever the heck it is.
It's like, that's crazy.
And there's good reason to keep you sick and overweight and unhealthy in this country, because they're making money.
Makes me think about why people get. I read this thing on a study, and oh my, I hit the table. I read a study about what is it? High fructose glucose syrup again.
Oh, the high fructose corn syrup. That stuff's evil.
And they still cannot use it in Europe, and so the company that does all the corn thing is just got pretty much kicked out. And now I like to drink Coca-Cola. I know that's very bad, but having said that, I have to buy the Mexican Coca-Cola because they use regular sugar. Now, does that make any sense to anybody? I'm in America drinking Mexican Coca-Cola because the other stuff doesn't work.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's crazy. You know, there's no doubt about it. But, you know, the one thing I can say about the healthcare as far as, okay, all right, cool. Go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to call in and say how much I like the show.
Oh, fantastic.
Wow.
Well, we're glad you like it.
Good. Me too. I like what you guys were talking about, education, and what the last caller had to say about it.
Yeah, because I mean, our education, you know, we really need to put more effort into, you know, getting our teachers straightened out, you know, getting these classroom sizes down.
And don't make them pay always for all of the stuff that they have to get for the kids.
Yeah, and really start getting the education brought up, because, you know, and the worst part about it is I know a lot of teachers, and it's just like a lot of people, you know, they go into their classrooms and you got kids in there that stand up and tell the teacher, hey, I'm not here to learn. I'm going to go do whatever I want to do, and you can't tell me what to do. And it's just, and it's ridiculous. And it's just like, the schools of today are not the schools of, when I went to school and, in the 70s and 80s, and it's just, it was ridiculous. So, and it's just.
Do you think also it has to do with, like, parents at home and how they don't.
I totally agree with that.
I agree 100%.
I have a friend of mine that's a substitute teacher in Illinois, and what he describes to me as his daily job, it's unbelievable. He's like a bouncer.
Yeah.
He's not a teacher, he's a bouncer.
A bouncer?
Yeah.
And like there's full-fledged like near riots that break out in the school sometimes, and like melees, and the kids, all they want to do is fight. And
crazy.
That starts at home. Fortunately, I came from a good family, and my parents, never divorced, and my mom didn't have to work, so I always had family dinner, and that's a huge thing too. You get those values, from home, and you bring those with
but
you
that
to
comes
school.
down to education again. So if you have, the same poor people live in the same area for 10 years, next generation comes in, and after a while, it's not that many great folks living there.
Well,
anymore.
yeah, and that's actually another thing I kind of agree on with the Republicans too. Is there is kind
Stop
of
agreeing with the Republicans. Good, great. The show is not for the Republicans.
There's an erosion of family values in this country. I mean, you can see it happening over the last couple of decades. I don't know why. I don't know what the solution is, but it's true.
Well, it's just
I completely agree. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think one of the biggest problems we have is that the kids have been taught nowadays to where if your parents go in there and discipline you, all you got to do is make a phone call, and HRS will come out there and they'll take care of your parents and make sure that don't happen no more. And it's just there's it's sad to say, because we are a nation that has no more accountability. Our government does not have accountability. It's always somebody else's fault or the last guy's fault. Our teachers are in situations to where they can't have the accountability, because if they do, then they're going to get hit with that's child abuse or child endangerment. You can't do this, you can't say that. And it's just like, hey, I like the idea, if your kid was bad and they want to raise hell in the classroom or something like that, send them to the principal, paddle them, kick them on back, and and stop the nonsense. But it has to be done with respect in regards of of how do you make it to where it's right, and not something to where it becomes a real physical, outrage. And next thing you know, you got teachers fighting students, and vice versa.
That is a pretty old school way to look at it. You said sending him to the principal and getting a paddle. I mean, there's other ways to discipline too, but I totally agree. It starts at home.
Yeah, because I mean, there's no respect, and that's the biggest thing that I see out of kids now. I mean, because think about it. I'm 49 years old. I never, ever in my years of going to school, all the way through high school, did I ever see somebody walking with their ass hanging out with their pants down to the back of their knees, and just, it's like, hey, I'll do what I want to do. I mean, even your school coaches, if they even thought of something like that, they'd walk up and kick you in the ass and say, come on, boy, get your ass moving, and it's just,
This was 3 times ass in almost one sentence.
I'm telling you. But, the cool thing about it is the students were taught to respect the teachers, their family, and it all boils down to exactly what he says here. It's all about the family values that started at home that are carried through life. And it's just, we don't have that no more.
And there's one other key to this that I talk about a lot. I read a great article about this once on the internet. It was the name of the article was "Climb the Rope," and it was about how it gets back to this unreality that we're living in this bubble. And you talk about like the gym rope that we used to have years ago in grammar school, and excuse me, Carmen, not to pick on you, but if there was a fat kid that couldn't if there was a fat kid that couldn't climb the rope, if there was an overweight kid that couldn't climb the rope, he had to like run and lose weight and work harder to climb the rope. Nowadays, if a little fat Timmy can't climb the rope, then like he goes and does something else and we still call him a winner. Like we're not preparing kids for life, like we make everyone into a winner, and we're afraid to tell kids, hey, you're bad at this or you're a loser. And it doesn't
everyone gets a trophy.
Everyone gets a trophy, and this is so unrealistic and doesn't prepare our kids for reality and what life really is. And the number one rule in life is that life was never designed to be fair, and by teaching these kids this like perverted sense of reality where everybody's a winner, it just sets them up for failure.
Oh my God, yeah, especially, even in the NFL,
not only that, but it gives them a sense of entitlement too.
Yeah, that's the other big thing too. Yeah, and then like the kids take control of the family then, and you can't parent your own kids because the kids take over.
It's like, oh, son, can I go out tonight? I got to go to work,
Yeah.
Well, that kid is bigger. Now what you can do, huh?
And they slam their foot down, and then you have to take them to McDonald's, you have to take them to Toys R Us, you have to do everything to appease them. You know,
Yeah.
I couldn't do that when I was a kid.
You know, my dad would reach over and co-cock me, you know? Like, nah, that wouldn't fly.
It's a vicious cycle. Well, thank you guys.
Thanks for
I enjoy
calling.
watching and listening.
All right, definitely. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So you guys want to still talk about something? I'm just kidding. It's a radio show, so I guess we have to talk.
Well, actually, you know, the one thing I was going to say that, you know, as far as the healthcare, you know, when my grandfather was, you know, when I guess in a sense after he retired and, you know, he had health issues and stuff like that, I really got to commend the healthcare that they had there because, I mean, they put him into an assisted living area where, I mean, he had constant care 24/7. And I mean, they were fantastic with him. And it's just like, you don't have that here. But, you know, and it's just, if we were going to do a healthcare for the Americans, then we should have sat there and looked at some of the different healthcare programs that are overseas that have been working for the past 25 to 50 years that have worked and worked and worked.
And that's exactly what I was saying earlier about the sense of America, you know, being innovative and, you know, having ingenuity and imagination. We should be looking to these other countries and seeing what systems work and then like taking those bits and pieces and applying them here and finding a new system that works for us. Because that's the other thing about universal healthcare in this country that drives me insane. You know, you have these large events like 9/11 or Hurricane Katrina or Hurricane Sandy, and you have this outpouring of love and community amongst Americans to donate their time, their money, their energy to help the people affected by these tragedies. But oh wait, once universal health care comes up, forget it. I'm not helping my fellow Americans. Screw you.
Yes, cancer. Screw you. Yes, cancer. Screw cancer.
Yeah, you go get your own help. You know, from the doctor or the hospital. I'm not helping you. It's so. Yeah. It's so hypocritical, and it doesn't make any sense. I don't understand it.
And it doesn't make any sense because it would benefit them at the end too. If they're 70 years old, they don't have any money or they can't afford it, so they would be covered.
It's this prevailing like every man for himself attitude in this country that's been growing over the last number of decades. It's no good. I don't like it.
Well, actually, even in the past 10 years, I mean, it's actually even beyond that because I don't even think that it's even at that aspect anymore. Now I think it's more or less, okay, hey, how do I get that guy's last dollar out of his pocket and put it in mine? And, you know, and hey, sorry about your luck, buddy. It sucks to be you, but if I'm getting that dollar, hey, I'll do what it takes to get it done.
Yeah. And it could be that the sense that maybe people realize collectively, but keep it in their subconscious that something's going terribly wrong in this country. And we're like on the Titanic and it's making people take more desperate measures and take more risks.
Yeah. Well, you know, and even with, you know, the healthcare, what really kills me is the fact that, you know, the healthcare goes before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court sits there and they ruled that, hey, as a healthcare, it is not constitutional. It won't pass. But you know something? We can go in there and make it a tax and it's 100% feasible. You know, where does the Supreme Court have that right to sit there and change what the issues of it are to where it benefits what they're trying to do to help government? I'm sorry, that's not right. If, you know, any other law that goes in there, the Supreme Court doesn't sit there and say, well, you know, we can't do it like this, but we can change it over here and do this. No, you're voted on what the aspect is right here. The motion is done. It's over with. You're out the door. But now we've got a tax. And this is the thing that gets me. You know, if we're going to do a healthcare plan, then let's do a healthcare plan to where it benefits everybody. And the easiest way to fix the whole thing is all them wonderful politicians, let's take their health care.
Oh, they got the best health care plans.
Yeah, let's give them the health care that they're trying to give us. So, well, guys, we're down to our last minute here. So we're fixing to wrap up here. And hey, I tell you what, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure having you both on here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, sir.
You're more than welcome to give me a call. Let me know. And hey, door's open. You can come back anytime. Yeah, because definitely I'd love to sit here and have, you know, talk more with you and stuff. So, yeah, because I mean, hey, it's been a blast.
We'd be happy to come back.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
Thank you, Jerry.
You take care.
Right, cool deal. All right,
has
man.
to cut the line now. Who's cutting the line?
All right, where you at, man?
Hey.
This is my way to follow that star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far, to fight for the right without question or pause.